Okay, to get started, you'll just remove the two screws, one on each side of the frame. Open the hood, remove the battery, and remove the two screws that you see in the battery panel. Then you'll be able to lift the cab and slide it back, and the cab will lift off. Okay, it'll still be attached by the headlight wires. That's why you have to take care here. You don't want to, pull out any wires that would be hard to fix later. So just set everything off to the side, and there's only one screw that holds your little motherboard down. Just pop that out. Okay, and now you can unplug. Oh, I don't need to. I'm going to unplug the motor later, but for right now, all you need to unplug is the power cable coming in from the battery. That one. And then your battery box will come off. Set that off to the side, and then you got to unplug your lights. The lights are the fine wires. Now they got these all wrapped funny. I'm going to also have to unplug the steering. Okay, and then you can set your cab off to the side. Okay, to remove your interior, you've just got to do two things. You have to remove the bottom mount for the mirror on each side, and you have to pull the exhaust. You have to pull the exhaust back to get those pins out of the way. Start with the mirror on the side. I use a pair of needle nose pliers. You'll see it in there. It's just a little. It's a couple of plastic tangs. You squeeze them together. Push them together and pull out from the outside. The bottom will pop out, okay, and then the top of the mirror will just work free. So leave that bracket in place. Now, while I've got these mirrors out, I'm going to put a little bare metal foil in there. Little bare metal foil. Yeah, we're going to put some bare metal foil in there, boys, to make it look like a mirror. It's also so it'll rhyme. But once you've got the mirror out on both sides, like I said, they pop out fairly easy. Just squeeze them together and wiggle forward. Pull on the outside at the bottom of the mirror. And they just pop right out. And then the mirror just wiggles free. The hardest part is going to be not losing these tiny little bottom brackets before I get done with all the detail on the inside. And then in the rear, the exhaust, you can just pull it back like that. It's pretty tough. I use a small screwdriver to give it a little aid. You'll see there's two little pins down in the bottom there. You just got to pull those back until they come out, and they'll pop into the corner and set off to the side. You'll need a screwdriver to move them, to put them back in. But then the whole interior just pops right out. Okay, so now I'm going to do something with the gauges, make them a little nicer, and I'm going to install a driver like this guy. In fact, my intention is to pop this bottom out as soon as I'm sure that the zap goo has set. I'll pop that bottom out, and this is actually the interior I'll be using for the green truck because it's already got the driver attached. So that's where we're at. Okay, now I've popped the interior out of the tan truck. Now on both of these, I'm going to add clear plastic for glass on the inside of the window and the rear windows. That's probably all I'll really do for the detail. I'm not sure on this one, I might darken it, but on the green one it's already dark, so I'll just leave that alone. Once the window has simulated glass in there, I've got a windshield wiper blade that I'm going to put on there. That with the bare metal foil, or bare metal foyer if you prefer, on the inside of the mirrors. That'll pretty much take care of the inside of the cab, everything I'm going to do to it right now. The rest will be in here, and that'll be pretty basic. I'm just going to do a little bit with the gauges because you can see them through the glass, and install the driver as I have on this one. I happen to have another one of these guys because I've had several of those Toro half-tracks, but this is the passenger from the Toro half-track, and he wiggles right in there, and then his arm sits right on the windowsill. You saw him a minute ago, but that'll be pretty much it for the inside. Not going to get real crazy on it. Okay, next I'm going to do the steering servo. I'm just going to remove all of the original stuff down here. I'm also going to pull the on-off switch because the ESC has its own on-off switch, so we won't be using this one. Just get it out of the way. Kind of tuck the motor wire back a bit. I'm going to change this over to a red JST connector, because for now I'm going to have it on this ESC, so I need bullet connectors for this one, but I'll just put a red JST on the end of that and that'll connect my motor. This ESC is going to be just temporary. I've got them coming in the mail, and once they get here I'll switch them over. This one's eventually going to go in the 1/6 scale half track, but for now it's going in here. So I'm just going to remove the entire steering assembly that they got in here. I'm just going to pull the whole thing right out. It's going to give me a nice little tray to put down my servo for my steering. You got to go underneath to hit the pitman arm. Now don't lose that white piece of nylon behind there, because we're going to modify that to attach for our servo. So we're going to disconnect the pitman arm from down there, so now the tires should wobble free. Pull the white nylon arms off, pull the spring off. Pull the motor box out. This is the arm I was talking about. We're going to pull this off the front of the motor box. Okay, once we've got that arm pulled off, what we're going to do is we're going to cut this off. Okay, we're going to take this little white nylon arm for the steering and we're going to cut it off right there, and then we're going to turn it around and put it through the front of the pitman arm. Alright, we're going to turn it around and put it through there, and then we'll run a screw through the back of our servo arm and into that nylon piece, and that'll be our connection between the pitman arm and the servo. Pretty simple. Try to use everything off this thing that I possibly can, so I'm going to remove the trim switch that they got on here, which is just a question of turning it at 90 degrees and dropping it out. I'm going to cut some of this stuff away, but I'm going to make sure to keep these posts, okay, because I need those for the battery tray to sit down on top of, because we are going to reuse this. We're going to have a different connector for our battery, again, red JSTs. But we're going to set that tray back on there once we get our electronics installed down here. We're going to set the tray over it to still hold the battery, and we'll see. If I can get the servo and the receiver down here, I might set the ESC up here. I might have to move the ESC to the bed or up underneath in the cab. Might maybe put it across the frame back here. Haven't investigated yet. We'll check it out. Now all this stuff is going to vary, you know, on yours, but the ESCs that I have coming in the mail, when I do the video on those are great ESCs, and they're like $4 a piece. So I ordered 2 of them, and I'll when I do post all this, I'll post a link to those ESCs once we get them and start working with them. So if you guys want to use them, one of the things I like about that ESC that's coming in the mail is it's already set up for red JST for power input, which is what I've got. Believe it or not, this is a 7.4 volt battery. It's a LiPo. It's 180 milliamp hour. I mean, I've got them bigger, you know, and I would still be able to run the truck off of the stock battery. I would say the 4.8 would be better than the 6, just for size considerations, but that'll be up to you guys to figure out how you want to do that part. Now, get this prepped, and then I'll show you how to put in the servo. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is just modify this little arm. I'm just going to take a pair of nippers. I'm just going to pop it off kind of above where I want to be. And then I'm just going to go around the edge. And just trim it down until it's kind of round. I'll kind of look at the other side. And now I'll just take a sanding stick and smooth this out the way I want it. Okay, now I've got my little nylon piece, you know, somewhat rounded off, close enough for the girls that we go out with. Now I've got to do the servo arm. Now I'm just using a standard Hobby King 9-gram servo. I got these on a flash sale for like $5.09 a piece. But on their best day, like rockin' retail, they're not going to be more than about $9, $10, $11 for one of these. They're not very, you know, not very expensive at all. Go to Hobby King, in the search box, put in TGY-90S, and it'll pop right up. Okay, so by test fitting and checking it out, I've determined that I want to use the third hole up from the bottom. The screw that's going to go in there is needs a 3/32 hole, so I just put a 3/32 bit in my pin vise, and I'm just going to drill that out. And no, I'm not going to drill into my finger. See how I pulled back at just the right moment there? It takes years and years to get that kind of experience, boys. Don't even try that. I'm a trained professional. Anyway, now my servo will go, my screw will go through there. Fits just right, gets down to the end, spins real easy. Okay, so I'm just going to attach that. I'm going to put the piece in backwards from what it was stock. I'm going to put it in from the front. I'm going to just pop it through there. It'd be a lot easier if I wasn't trying to get my hands in the way. Just going to run the screw into that little bad boy. I don't want to get it so tight that anything binds. I want it to be just a little bit loose. It's not too bad. I can tighten it up just a little bit maybe. If you want to Loctite these, use Loctite 425. Yeah, I know it's expensive. It's like 20 bucks a bottle. I got a bottle of it right here. That's the stuff. I had to mail order and it was like 22 bucks. But this will not eat plastic. That's important, eh? So now when you turn this around and flip your servo arm up, you'll see that it comes right through there. Okay, right through where we want to put our servo. So I can actually take my servo now and test fit it. I'm going to put it in there. I'm just going to pop the arm on however it wants to go on. Maybe. What did I do? What a gomer. I'll probably leave this in just because it's so funny. I put the servo arm on backwards. So now I'm going to take the servo arm off. I'm going to turn it around. And we'll try this again. See guys, even trained professionals can do stupid things. Now this is pretty easy if you just hold the screw and turn the white part. Thread's right on there. Okay, now when I swing the Pitman arm around and run it up through there, let's get my wheels towards the center there. Of course, you'll be able to, you know, adjust this afterwards. I always, when I first plug it in, I do it with the arm off and let the servo self-center and then just reattach the arm. Because with it in here like this, it's so easy you have to push up a little bit right here with your screwdriver. You can come in right here and hit that screw on the end of the servo. I hope you can see that. So to attach the screw that holds the servo arm in place is no problem. So I put it down on there like that, and I'm just test fitting. Now I can reach underneath like this with my middle finger, the one that you give to them guys on the freeway, and I can touch underneath there and I can squeeze that and hold that down. That's important, remember that. And that sits, that's how everything's going to sit when it's done. That servo is now attached to the pitman arm. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to peel this label on the bottom of here. I'm going to peel that label off. I'm going to scuff up the bottom a little bit with a sanding stick. Ah! Wow. Alright, now I'm getting set up to mount the servo permanently. Alright, so put my servo in here, reconnect my pitman arm. Like I said, I'm not going to put the screw in at this time because I'm going to test this in a minute. You'll see that. Get my wheels somewhat centered. Pop it on the servo. And it doesn't look too bad right there. Okay, now I'm going to cheat. I just sprayed a bunch of kicker into the lid. And I'm using a Q-tip. Alright, so I got kicker sitting there in the lid. I got everything the way I want it. My servo's attached, everything looks good. Just going to tilt that servo and lift it up a little bit. And I'm going to squeeze a couple of drops of super glue down in there. And I'm going to set that servo down in there, and like I said, I'm going to grab it from underneath and I'm going to squeeze it, just like that. Now this is 5 to 10 second super glue, but that never works out that way. So I'm going to take my Q-tip and put some kicker down in there. And then I'm going to instantly take the other end of the Q-tip and rub it off from where I, didn't need it. And I'm still going to hold it. Now, I don't know if you can hear the clock ticking up there, but I'm going to hold it until that clock ticks 60 times. Okay, there's a couple guys I've been helping out lately that I've been telling that there's certain things that are really, really handy to have if you're going to try hobby grade radios. A servo laying around for testing stuff is just invaluable. You'll also want a little 6-volt battery pack. This one's set up to plug into a receiver. Now, to test this servo, I'm just going to use my trusty 9X, and I've got a receiver here for it that's already bound. So I'm going to plug my servo. Now, I've got my arm disconnected. Okay, I popped the arm off. The servo, I waited 60 ticks on the clock, and it's now glued down in place. Everything's perfect. Alright, so to test it, I'm going to plug my receiver, or my servo, into channel 1. I'm going to turn my radio on. Alright, let's come up. Channel 1. I'm going to plug my power in to any channel. Alright, I got servo. I'm going to center my tires. I'm going to lift up my arm. I'm going to center my tires. And push the arm on. Okay, now I'm going to take the little screw. I'm going to use my magnetic tipped screwdriver. I'm going to come right up in there. Arg. finagle that little servo screw in there. And tighten her down. Gonna set my receiver and everything in the back bed here so that the cable doesn't interfere. And now I've got servo steering. If you want to get more steering, use the second hole up from the bottom on the servo arm instead of the third. That'll give you more travel. I like it like this. I don't want to go too far because as I am right now, when I go to the left, I get to a certain point and you'll see the front of the truck start to lower down. See it hunker down like that? Not real crazy about that part. But if I had throttle hooked up, we could run it. So that's how easy it is to put a servo in one of these hang-long trucks. I gotta redo my servo arm. I got it over a little bit too far, or else I can do it with my trim. Oops, wrong way. It doesn't look too bad. And there you have it. Okay, I recentered the arm. I wasn't happy with the way it was. And another way that you can do that to get more travel is you can go into your servo endpoints and set for like 130%, and it'll move the tires further. But as you can see, servo steering in one of these little hang-long trucks is not a big deal.